Happy Day of Love.
Oh gosh.
It's the love day.
It is the love day, Valentine's Day. So we're recording this the week before on Tuesday, and all I keep thinking about is we leave on Thursday morning, and so I need to get all of the Valentines for Carson's class, all 22 of them put together. And of course, like me being how I am, I cannot just do a basic Valentine with his name on it. I need to like Pinterest shit and come up with this little creative thing that's going to take me forever tonight, but I have to do it because that's just how I am. Like it is me recurring like, why are you the way that you are? Why do you do these things to yourself?
We're just going to make something very small because I don't know what the policy is. Like I was thinking about doing like some food and stuff, but I'm thinking we'll just do like some sticker books or something. Because with COVID, I can't even see his classroom. Never met his teachers. Like
it's just no peanuts. That's the rule. But last year, I thought that they said that food is discouraged, and then everyone fucking gave food. And so I was like, well, now I feel like the bad parent that like didn't give candy. And so this year I'm doing little Hershey Kisses and a little bouncy ball.
Oh, that'd be cute.
And so I'll put that in a bag and tie it with Baby Shark Valentine's cards. So this is my life.
I'm surprised you didn't do Cookie Monster Valentine's.
I could not find. Tell me, people, where are all the Valentine's cards? They were not at Meijer. There was 2 crappy ones at Walmart that I forego because I thought that I would find better ones somewhere else. There were none at Walgreens. The Baby Shark ones were the only ones I found at Walgreens. Like this whole, I just think of, there used to be hundreds of boxes of different types of Valentines for little kids, schools. I can't find them anywhere. I couldn't find them on Amazon. I couldn't find them anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
paper shortage.
Having a supply chain issue right now.
That's what Nick said. Nick works in paper. And so he's like, there's a supply chain issue. I experience it very well. So I just figured because it's Valentine's Day, they would have been so far ahead of it. But
they did start coming out with Valentine's Day stuff like the day after Christmas.
I know.
I mean, I was looking June, July, and I was seeing Halloween stuff out on the end caps at Walgreens. I'm like, this is crazy. We're in the middle of summer, already looking at end of October. But anyways,
summer.
We hope that you guys have a great day today. Art and I don't do Valentine's Day. We make a nice dinner at home sometimes, and then that's it for us. We went out one year, and I'm like, we're never doing this again because it was so packed. We actually did just have a dinner out this past Saturday, but we're the old people for a 40th birthday going at 6 p.m. so that we could be home by 9. Where are you going? We're going to Eddie Merlot's steakhouse.
Okay.
So
very fun. Yeah. Gosh, 40.
Not him. It's one of his friends that he went to high school. So,
but he's turning 40 this year. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been looking nonstop to try to find a trip that we can do that's a reasonable price. It's not going to cost a ton of money. So we're looking right now. We're potentially going to look at the Florida Keys is where we were looking. Now we're thinking we might do like St. John or St. Thomas, like Virgin Islands. If not, then the backup plan is maybe we just go somewhere and hike. Like I said, we can, drive down to Tennessee. We can rent an Airbnb if we're not already like in the midst of moving, which probably won't be because it's already February. So I just said,
just a process.
We could, just find something that's a drivable distance and then do a fun hiking weekend because we like outdoorsy stuff. I would like to be on the beach, but at the same time, his birthday is mid-July and it really doesn't make sense to pay to go to a place that is hot when it's hot here.
Yeah, that's always the hard part of summertime trips.
So,
yeah.
And he's so chill about it. He's like, I don't know. I don't really care. As long as like you're there. And we're also thinking like, I don't really want to leave Marcus home.
Yeah.
But if we do fly somewhere, then we're not probably going to bring him with us. So I don't know. We don't know yet.
Nick's turning 39 this year. He'll be 40 next year. Rob the cradle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only a year apart. So this will be you next year trying to plan.
I know. Nick and I are 5 years apart.
Yeah.
In age. But yeah, Art and Nick are close in age.
Yeah. I'm sure Nick will just want golf.
He just wants to, that's all he wants to ever do. It's all we watch at home on the weekends. There's somehow always a golf tournament on. I'm like, oh, another golf tournament. Some arbitrary random golf tournament. It's just,
Oh my goodness.
My husband, he loves his golf. We're going this weekend in Arizona. He gets to golf, so he's so excited. So anyways, okay, today on the podcast, we're going to do a couple things. So first, we are going to talk about why fat loss tends to become harder as we get older. And with each effort we make towards it, the good news is that it isn't harder. It's just different. And this is where I think a lot of people don't kind of conceptualize this is, you guys, the body's smart. Like, it adapts, it changes. And so the things that worked 2, 5, 10 years ago, they just aren't going to work anymore. We have to be willing and open to try different things. We have to be understanding that our 30-year-old body or our 25-year-old body, I always joke about, personal trainers in their, early 20s. I used to smoke a pack of cigarettes and eat ramen that day and look that good. Like, try having kids and then come back. I didn't smoke. That was just like, they're memes that I see all the time. Anyways, so obviously, Liz and I and our coaches have worked with lots and lots of women at this phase in their life. In this mid 30s to like mid 60s is kind of the age range that we tend to work with. And a lot of times we don't realize how much has truly changed in our lives. And in turn, how much changes with our body, and why the normal like cut carbs or slash calories or do more cardio doesn't seem to work anymore. Maybe it works initially, but then we stall out and the weight seems to come back on, which I think sounds familiar for a lot of people. And so we are going to explain today kind of the secrets of why this happens so that you can start understanding how to attain effective fat loss. Because I think we need to understand why it happens first before we dive into how to fix it.
Yeah. And we're talking about fat loss here. We want to just kind of clarify this because really there's several ways you could slice a pie to manipulate weight loss in terms of water weight and all these different things, like the old ways that you used to do, like simply cut out your carbohydrates. You'll see, 5 pounds of water drop off in a week. We're talking about actual fat loss that's going to help you get to a place where you feel good, you look good, you're healthy, you have energy, and you have that lean body that you want. I hate to say tone because tone doesn't exist. So if this is your first time, kind of listening to some of these things, take some notes on this. This is one thing is like, what is the purpose of, listening and educating yourself if we're not actually applying? We are going to talk through more application in our webinar this coming Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can find the link for that in the show notes, but we want you to take notes. We want you to utilize some of the things that we are discussing today to help make improvements in your life, not just flood your brain with more information and not taking any action. So let's kind of see if this, sounds familiar first. You've been at this for 5, 10, 20 years maybe, and you feel like you're dieting more than ever, but you're not seeing the results that you want. The scale isn't moving, you don't weigh any less, and you've been trying, air quote here, trying to get to a better place for decades, for years. We need to understand there are reasons why the body is stubborn. We need to understand why we might need to change our training. Maybe you're training regularly or you're overtraining. That might need to change, right? Let's say, your clothes are fitting snug and you feel like you haven't changed anything with your food. Well, we need to evaluate your stress. We need to evaluate your sleep. We need to evaluate the types of foods that, you are consuming. And so if you're nodding your head and you're thinking like, yep, Liz, you're talking directly to me. I've been doing this diet thing for a really long time and I'm still stuck. Just know that you're not alone, because these are the people that we help. This is the population that we talk to all the time. They've been told to do the HCG diet. They lost weight. They rebounded back within weeks, right? We've heard everything under the sun when it comes to all of the things that they've tried, and they feel like they continue to stay stuck. They might see progress. They rebound back. There's reasons for this, and it's all about the approach, and it's all about being strategic with that approach. And so this is the one thing, that a lot of people don't think about with aging is that your metabolism decreases as you age. And there's reasons for this. And we're going to dive into those things, but understand two things before we get into the other things we're going to go over. Number one is that your muscle mass decreases as you age, especially if you are not strength training regularly. Right? You might be doing a lot of walking or a lot of spin class, cardio, yoga, Pilates, things like that. But we start dropping muscle mass as early as age 25. And trust me, I'm in my mid 30s. I feel it compared to where I was when I was 25. And what happens here is when we lose muscle mass, we burn less calories at rest, right? It impairs our blood sugar regulation. There's a lot of trickle down effects of not maintaining good lean muscle mass. So you guys know, we talk about it 100 times on this podcast over and over, you need to be strength training. Mm-hmm. The second thing is your chronic dieting, your deprivation dieting, the years of restriction is driving your metabolism into the ground. Even if you're doing it for short periods of time, let's say the consistency isn't even there. If you're going 1,100, 1,200 calories during the week, and then the weekends you're skyrocketing up and you're bouncing back and forth, this is also going to slow down your metabolism. It's not just that person who's dieted for 6 straight months eating 800 to 1,000 calories a day. This is the inconsistency and these swings from low to high and vice versa that is going to drive your metabolism into the ground because you have no consistency and you're trying to basically crash diet, which puts stress on the body. So we're going to dive into 6 things today that you can kind of start to take an evaluation on. And again, take some notes, reach out to us in the podcast show notes, reach out to us if you have questions, if you want to schedule a call with one of us and you want to talk to us about your specific situation, you're always welcome to do that. But what we want to say time and time again, and we've said this before, is we want you to take this knowledge, soak it in, and utilize it as a catalyst for you to actually take action, because knowledge without action is useless.
So Liz kind of touched on this a little bit, but the number one thing is crash dieting. Insert any major diet here. Like you got keto, you got low carb, you got intermittent fasting, you got low calorie, you got Optivia, you've got meal plans, replacement shakes, whatever it is, 6-week challenges, like all of them you can insert into the box here. It really doesn't matter which one it is because they all result in essentially the same thing. When you deplete your body of energy and you deplete your body of adequate stores, your body becomes defensive to an extent, and it stores whatever it can. Like there's a sweet spot to calorie deficits, which is why you kind of have to play around with it a little bit. And we do this often with our clients. You don't want to go too far. Like you want to be within that 300 to 500 calorie deficit range, because when you exceed that, it might work initially, but then your body's like, whoa, way too dangerous. This is not enough food for my body. And it essentially shuts it down. It will raise stress, which puts a stop to any type of fat loss, usually to an extent. And we get in this place where the calorie deficit, although maybe kept, is way too much for your body. And so we have to be smart about where we go. But research has even shown a flat out fast drop in calories will drop your metabolism by about 25%. And this can happen in as quick as 7 to 14 days. 1 to 2 weeks of an extreme calorie deficit drops your metabolism by a quarter of what it usually is. It also causes us to burn less fat when our body turns to breaking down muscle tissue to get essentially the protein that it needs. And this in turn slows down our metabolism even more. Liz talked about muscle mass is extremely protective. It helps your metabolism out. It helps you stay leaner for longer. And it can actually also impact gut health and the integrity and hormone balance within the body. So it impacts everything when we do these crash diets. The more we diet, the more we restrict foods, the less diversity your gut has. Diversity is huge when it comes to gut health. You need to be eating a variety of vegetables and fruits. Not eat the same thing every day either. Like even if you're eating enough, but you're so routine that you literally eat the same 3 vegetables every week, you got to switch it up. You're not doing your gut any favors. The more we end up too often with bloating, food intolerances, acid reflux, all different types of digestive stress. You guys, when we lack nutrients and lack calories, your body doesn't produce as much stomach acid. And so when we don't have as much stomach acid, it can't break down the food anymore. It can't digest and absorb the nutrients from those foods. And then we end up with bloating. You would be like, why? I'm eating less. Why am I bloated? It's because your body has basically lost the integrity of the gut because we've restricted so much of it. Nutrients are necessary for your body to function. And at the end of the day, you essentially end up with like PTSD. Your body ends up with PTSD from all this chronic dieting. There is an accumulation effect. Nothing comes without consequence. Nothing. And so when you do these extreme diets, your body gets better at living at that place and not seeing progress. It gets more and more basically adaptable at that place, and it sees those things and it's like, oh, you've done this before. I'm just going to shut down fat loss. Obviously there's much more complex processes that happen within the body. But in layman's term, that's essentially what your body's doing, is it accumulates all of these stresses that we've put on it over the years of these chronic dieting, and it makes it feel like it's near impossible to lose weight.
Yep. And this is why we talk so much and preach so much about periodizing your intake, right? Like your body can sustain a good fat loss response for 3 to 4 months. That's really, we say 12 to 16 weeks is like the longest that you should be going without a diet break.
Yep.
You need to come in and out of fat loss phases. You need to have refeed days. You need to have maintenance weeks. This is the true duration of a fat loss phase. right? Not 5 to 10 years. Guys, we're talking about 3 to 4 months. Yet so many women try this 6-week challenge, this 12-week challenge, this 16-week challenge, and most of their year is spent trying to be in this deficit to get results. And it's the very thing for a lot of women that's held them back. Because what happens after those very extreme challenges are over? They go right back to their old ways of eating. We get that last chance syndrome before the next challenge or whatever, approaches that you try to take to diet again, and you store more body fat because you're flipping the switch here from super restrictive to consuming all of the things that you love that you've deprived yourself of for the last 8 to 12 weeks, however long, you might have been in this very restrictive place. And so this is where we want our clients to understand how to do these things on their own when they leave our program, how to adjust their intake based upon their lifestyle events, their social life, their, kids, for example. If you're going on spring break with your kids, you don't want to be trying to be on this 1,200 calorie, very restrictive diet. No, you want to be enjoying that vacation with your family. Guys, progress isn't lost in 1 week. It's also not made in 1 week. And I think this is where a lot of people lack patience, and this is a whole different topic for another day, but we do something for a week and we don't see the results that we want, so we think it's not working. We go and enjoy the weekend or start to stress eat or emotionally eat because we're upset with the results that we didn't get after a short period of time. Understand, results are not gained in a week. You are not going to lose them in a week. And so if you do have a vacation coming up, if you're not working with somebody and you find that vacations are your time to just go YOLO and go ham on all the things that you enjoy, then you might want to consider hiring somebody to help you work through your relationship with food so that you can stop this up and down in terms of super restrictive, overconsume, the scale goes down, it goes right back up, then we gain, more fat, and we actually make it harder and harder for ourselves over time. So periodization is really, really important. Yep. The second thing is, and again, on the webinar this Thursday, we're going to be talking about ways to fix these things. So you can join us there. Today, we're just talking about the 6 things that we see hold people back. But the second thing, you keep doing the same damn thing over and over again.
You have, your go-to, like, Weight Watchers, or, I just need to cut carbs out again. I've let carbs sneak back in, or I just need to remove the weekly wine each night, every night glass of wine, or I do 3 miles on the treadmill every day. And then it stops working. Like I said, your body adapts. Our body is basically a law of diminishing returns. The things that we do, your body gets used to. So the first time you diet, the first time you add in this exercise routine, your body responds really freaking well because it's like, wow, this is a new stimulus. Every time you try to implement it again, your body gets less and less responsive. That's essentially how the body works. It's called adaptation. Your body is smart. It is smarter than you, I promise you. It will find its own ways to survive, to feel its best, to honestly store the most fat, because the body finds fat as protective. It really is only concerned about you living and reproducing, and fat's required for both of those. And so when we try to be smarter than the body, usually we don't win unless we are working with someone that knows these tips, knows these tricks, knows the way that the body works so that it can work with your body versus against it. Because when we do the same thing all the time, the body's like, I know this trick. I know you've done this before, this 3 miles every day on the treadmill. First time you did it, you burned 300 calories in those 3 miles. Now I'm only going to burn 150 calories because I got used to it. And that's essentially how the body works. So what used to work doesn't anymore. And your body basically just becomes more efficient because that's its job. Its job is to become more efficient, conserve energy, use less energy, because at the end of the day, guys, if you really think about it in the simplistic terms of your body's meant to survive, well, utilizing less energy to do the same things is pretty much its job. So we need to understand that when we try to pull these tricks with it, the body's like, nope, I'm smarter than you now. I've done this before. I know how to conserve energy doing it. So also the other thing is we need to be able to understand, when is it the right time for change? When should we say like, oh, this isn't doing? If you're not feeling as challenged by things too, in terms of like exercise, you will likely not see as much of a change anymore. It's probably time to do something a little bit different, to inflict a different result. We all know the definition of insanity, like doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result from it. There's 1,000,001 ways that we can adjust our workouts, that we can adjust our nutrition. So if you're really into like the aerobic part of running and biking, great. We do sprint intervals. We do things that get your heart rate up, more high intensity type stuff versus the chronic static steady state stuff. And research shows this, guys. They found that when a group of women implemented interval training for 2 weeks compared to continuous sustained same effort pace, they burned 36% more fat because it reactivates certain fibers and forces your body to repair, which takes energy. Same reason we are so big on resistance training and actually lifting heavy weights. You guys, if you've been lifting the same 10 or 15 or 20 pound dumbbells for years, your body has adapted. Like it's probably not getting any stronger. And in turn, your body isn't forced to repair things as much. Repairing and regrowing stronger muscle tissue takes calories. And that way we burn more calories. And so we need to understand these things. There has to be shift. There has to be change. That's why progressive weight training is so important. That's why periodization with nutrition is so important. Our lives are ebb and flow. We need to be willing to know that the body is going to need to ebb and flow with that as well, and be open to changing things.
Yes. And if you are somebody out there who is thinking, well, Becca, that doesn't burn as many calories, as my cardio does, you're wrong. Because sure, in the workout, as we've talked about before, in the workout, you might burn less calories on your Apple Watch when you're doing strength training compared to doing running or biking or high intensity interval training. However, in the 24 to 48 hours after, you are burning more calories because of the repair process, right? And the rebuilding and creation of new cells and new muscle. And so if that's you and you're afraid of this, or you've never done strength training before, you've never implemented, any of that into your routine because you've always just been told more cardio is better, less calories is better, I'm going to challenge you to just start with 20 minutes of strength training a couple times a week. All right. There was a study that actually found that women who implemented 2 20-minute strength training sessions for 10 weeks added 2.6 pounds of muscle and lost 4.6 pounds of fat. And their metabolic rate increased 7%. This is amazing. This is just 10 weeks, 40 minutes a week. That's nothing, right? And so see how you feel. You will notice the difference. You will start to physically feel leaner, tighter, because you are now inflicting the stress, a new response on your body, utilizing your muscles in different ways that you've never done before. You're going to start seeing that change. But you also need to probably scale back on some of the cardio, like all of the spin classes, all the step classes, all the elliptical, cycling, all of these things. They are great and they serve a purpose. We definitely believe that you should get your heart rate up a few different times a week. Absolutely. But you need to be strength training. Mm-hmm. If you want different results, you got to start incorporating strength training.
Yeah. I love I don't know if you guys follow Jill Coleman, but she posted a little quote card the other day that said, people are like, what's your secret? And I say, lifting weights for 20 years. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, like we've talked about so many times, having as much muscle mass on you as possible is the best way to age well, to not have to deal with ups and downs in your weight, to be able to consume adequate amount of calories and not see weight gain. You guys, muscle is gold. It is literally, when weight loss is your problem, I promise muscle is the best answer. It is. You don't, honestly, you do not have to be as careful with your food when you carry high amounts of muscle. Nope. You don't. I don't like saying that because I'm not go eat whatever the hell you want, but it's just the reality of it. You don't have to consistently track every little calorie. You don't have to worry about all the meals that you eat out or anything like that. You have enough muscle. It keeps your metabolism fire burning, and you hold on to a lean body mass much easier than when you don't have muscle. It's just the reality of it. Muscle is the best thing to consume the glucose we eat on a day-to-day basis. It is what your body wants to fuel. But most people, weight training's hard. Weight training's scary. I don't want to get injured. I don't want to have to go to the gym. And so we try and do it other methods, and they just aren't as effective. You want to know the number one answer? Lift heavy weights, and it is never too late to start, ever. Yep. Ever. Find a good trainer. If you're really concerned, invest in a good trainer and learn how to move properly and build muscle mass, because it's never too late to start building muscle mass. Your body can always do it. So That was my soapbox.
Yeah. Speaking of Jill, though, I have to say I had dinner with her and the Mind Pump guys several years ago. She's awesome. I mean, she didn't restrict anything. She had like 3 or 4 glasses of wine. We were at dinner for like 2.5 hours. And I love that she is in person the same way that she is on social media. She's not going to BS you. She's not going to try to sell you anything, you know, in terms of like her programs or one-on-one coaching, unless she knows that you're actually a good fit. Just really, really like her. And it's so true. You can go and you can enjoy these things without guilt, without restriction, without having to make up for it, you know, in the gym the next day when you carry more muscle mass. And you go through life in a way that is totally different than in the past. Like I was thinking about it actually this past weekend, pulling out of this cut. I made this really good cake. It was so good. It's a double layer chocolate cake, and I did fresh raspberries on the inside. I
want to try some.
It's in the fridge.
I know, I saw.
On icing. And it was for one of my best friend's birthday. And I'm like, I feel good with this. I had a sliver of it. I felt great. I haven't touched it since then. Like I'm no longer chained to the feeling of I need to overconsume when it's in front of me because of the restriction that I had in the past. And I'm also not concerned of what the scale's going to do because I know the scale's going to bounce around.
Or go work it off.
Yep.
You know, I need to go burn more calories. I need to do 2 workouts on Christmas Day because I'm going to eat more. Like you guys, when you know your body and you know that you're doing the right things to help keep your body in a healthy state that you feel confident about, a lot of these fears and worries just disappear on their own because experience just proves it. Like it just proves it to you that you don't have to worry about those things.
Yeah.
And that's the best way. So the next piece is menopause, hormones and menopause, because I have no experience here, but gosh, do we know a lot about it. We know a lot about what it looks like symptom wise, what it probably emotionally feels like, talking to a lot of our clients. Obviously, we've done quite a bit of research and have quite a bit of knowledge around menopause and kind of why what happens. But at the end of the day, the tough part about menopause is it's unpredictable for everyone.
Yeah. And I'm actually surprised more and more with the amount of clients that we're seeing with PCOS and menopause getting diagnosed because it's been missed for so many years. And a large part of PCOS is insulin resistance, estrogen dominance. There's a variety of things that, you know, come along with this. This is not a PCOS podcast, but what we're seeing now more than ever is that doctors are finding, oh, wow, you had, you know, these cysts, these ovarian cysts that were rupturing or that continued to grow, or you've had heavy periods your whole life. Now I see, you know, from your charts the last several years, you carry a lot of the weight in your midsection. Let's dive into insulin resistance a little bit more. And so perimenopause, it's tough for some individuals while other individuals fly through it. And people are like, well, what is the difference? And honestly, from what I have seen and what Coach Courtney will talk about, you know, in other podcasts and live trainings that she has done, it's really about how they manage their life, their lifestyle habits, and their, you know, supporting their hormones and their health leading into the stages of menopause. Because menopause is one day. Menopause is the day in your life you've gone 12 months without a menstrual cycle and you cross into postmenopause. But it's the epitome, the perimenopause phase is the epitome of what worked when I was 20 doesn't work now. What worked when I was, you know, post-baby doesn't work now. What worked during, you know, other seasons of my life when I was late 30s, early 40s doesn't work now. And this is because of your estrogen that is fluctuating and your hormones that are bouncing all around. And a lot of times this is where we also see ladies start to get diagnosed with other underlying issues that might have, you know, been present, just overlooked. Let's think Hashimoto's here, other autoimmune conditions, low thyroid. They're all of a sudden finding all of these symptoms that I've kind of been sweeping under the rug or ignoring or thought was air quote here normal, really are not normal. And that is what sets most people who have a really rough transition from perimenopause to menopause up for that, you know, hardship where, you know, those few years there where things just get really, really wonky. It's not because of anything that's wrong with them. It's that there's been a lot of other underlying factors that have contributed to this that they didn't take care of before. So my message inside of this is if you are entering into your early 40s or you're going into your late 30s, start thinking about this a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, where you're going to be, because a decade from now, it's going to be either a smoother transition or a rough ride.
Yep, absolutely. Menopause, like Liz was saying, is one day. Menopause isn't the issue. It's sometimes, for some people, you guys, perimenopause is 5 to 10 years. And that's really what gets people. Like, the signs and symptoms of perimenopause leading up to losing our cycle is what we want to look out for. And the change usually starts with irregular periods, mood, sleep disturbances, hot flashes. And these happen because of the hormonal shifts that Liz was talking about. Basically, it's like this switchboard that just keeps going up and down at random times, it can feel like, with estrogen and progesterone levels. And so our estrogen will basically start to decline. And that causes FSH, which is our follicle stimulating hormone, to rise, which actually increases our estrogen. So this up and down of estrogen is what leads to these wacky symptoms: moodiness, weight gain often, insomnia, depression, fatigue, low libido. And estrogen can fluctuate on the daily, while progesterone just basically slowly declines. Progesterone will never be high again after this process, but you will continue to produce some estrogen in the adrenals. And the symptoms are like the worst for some people. Everyone's a little bit different: headache, breast tenderness, hot flashes, night sweats, erratic emotions, taking things more personally. So what do you do about it? You have to get things under control. You have to get your diet under control. You have to make sure that your health is under control. Like Liz was saying, I know of a couple clients, one in particular that was having horrible perimenopause symptoms early on, like late 30s. And what we found, she was hypothyroid. She was undiagnosed hypothyroid, and it was driving a lot. Because at the end of the day, guys, what the problem is the stress. It is the stress on your system of these autoimmune conditions, of these undiagnosed things that basically leave a baseline much higher of, you're going to hit it sooner with other stresses from menopause coming in, other stresses from the perimenopause, the fluctuations of hormones, and all of these things. And so the less stress we have on the system, and believe it or not, emotionally as well, a lot of people that have unresolved trauma, unresolved body image issues, relationship with food issues, all of these things play a role as well. You have to face your demons at some point. You have to accomplish conquering those things, because they will haunt you even more during this. And so we have to understand that, unfortunately, menopause is kind of inevitable for most people, and it's a little unpredictable. But what you can do is you can do nutrition, you can do exercise, and they make a huge difference. It's one of the most important times to either start or continue to weight train, because during menopause/after menopause, osteoporosis is much more likely for women. Bone density starts to change. And so lifting heavy weights, eating enough protein, eating enough calcium-rich foods are all extremely important in this phase, because otherwise you actually start to become more and more likely to have osteoporosis later in life.